Everyone will have heard of Visa. It's one of the most recognised brands in the world. Visa Europe is the European arm of the global brand, and we are here to serve and service the banks in Europe who then provide the services on to us as consumers. They provide services on to retailers and other people in the payments community. So our team in particular, the Visa Europe Collab, are the innovation unit, or the group that's trying to think of the next generation of payment ideas and things which are going to spark an interest for people, both consumers, retailers and banks, and maybe some other parties within that rich payments ecosystem. So we've kind of set ourselves up as an independent team, and we're very excited to engage directly with the whole startup community, as well as some of the innovation arms and groups of the different banks and communities who we work with. So over 2015, which is when we started, we engaged with over 500 startup companies, and out of those engagements and conversations, we identified a smaller number of activities where we wanted to run informed proof of concepts or tests around some of the things that these different ideas generated. And there was a real rich seam of opportunities and interest in that space. And if I just give a perspective that we're very interested in both the next generation of innovation, so we're kind of thinking evolutionary innovation here, the next generation of contactless or the next generation of tokenization, for example. But also we're looking further ahead at things that could truly transform or revolutionize the payment space. So we're thinking evolutionary as well as revolutionary innovation are things which we're particularly interested in. And as we engage with these different companies, we ran proof of concepts from everything looking at joining together charitable donations using contactless payments, so an evolutionary generation of contactless, to looking very revolutionary at how we could maybe deliver a brand new remittance service using some of the blockchain technologies. So how could we deliver a service which was both quicker, cheaper, and easier to use for consumers who are wanting to send payments around the world? We know that some of these technologies are maybe a little bit further out before they're ready to be scaled, but we know that getting in early is a crucial piece so that we can get ourselves informed and test and learn about what's going on. And I'll make a shameless plug for where we try to communicate some of our work. So for any people, as you talk to us this evening and come to our different stands, we'll either share business cards with you or point you towards our website, which will have a lot of the different projects we ran over 2015, and it will also have some of the blogs which cover some of our thinking around some of the emerging and nascent technologies that we're tracking and very interested in the future. You can follow us on Twitter so you can see some of these live updates coming through in that space or domain as well. But the reason I say that is just because we want to communicate, we want to be able to share some of our thinking, and we want to be able to hear people's feedback as well. And what we're hoping and expecting is through sharing some of these ideas about how payments may look in the future, we're going to engage with different companies and organisations who are developing new products and services in that domain. And what we're looking for is partnerships where there's something mutually beneficial for both Visa Europe as well as for the companies who we're working with. So we're looking for a classic win-win of something which helps take that company further forwards to test new things and new ideas, but also gives us new insights and helps us practically explore some of these new domains and territories. And so with that piece, I'll share with you a little bit about how we've structured our work activities this year. So from 2015, as I explained, we engaged with a wide range of companies, and as you can imagine, those activities covered across everything from activities around biometrics and new authentication methods, to some of the newer technologies within the smart cities domain or within the Internet of Things, to a whole range of other areas of research as well. But as we moved into 2016, we wanted to focus our area and energies around 5 or 6 key areas that we thought would be particularly transformational within the payments world. So I'll just say a few words about each of these areas, but what I'd really encourage is, after the talk this evening, come and find any of us at the different stands around the area. And if any of these themes resonate with you, we'd be delighted to have a conversation and learn a little bit more about your areas of interest and see if there could be something mutually beneficial. So the first area I'm going to talk about is the blockchain. Now this is an area that I'm leading for Visa Europe Collab, so I'd be delighted to talk to you about that a bit later. Thinking about the blockchain, we recognise that, and there's been a lot spoken and talked about this, that this could be a truly transformational set of technologies helping empower new products and services for consumers, businesses alike. And we're starting to look at how that could be transformational, both around using cryptocurrencies as a means of payment and recognising some of the practical challenges within that space at the moment. Also looking at the underlying technologies, some of the leading thinking about private blockchains versus public blockchains and how they could be used to deliver new services, take out costs from existing environments and speed up and deliver new and improved services. But we've also got an eye to the long-term future around how some of the technologies which the blockchain can enable could deliver brand new services for people, which Visa would be keen to deliver and help support with our global brand and visibility. So this could be areas around smart contracts, for example, could be areas around provenance or loyalty, or things where we're trying to move different sorts of value other than transactions across the payment network, which we have got such a good reputation for. So that's our first thing, the blockchain. The second area is around identity and authentication. And here what we're looking at is the next generation of whether it's biometrics, whether it's the technologies which help track or identify us as unique individuals. It could be around how we use our technologies, the usage of our phone, or about how we act or operate. There's a lot of companies developing new technologies or new ideas in this space. And what we're looking for is how that could ease and improve people's authentication prior to making purchases, and how companies could engage and get better information from that space as well. So the blockchain, identity and authentication. The third area is around smart cities, and this is all about the interconnected world of the future, including areas such as the technologies around the Internet of Things, how machine-to-machine payments could be introduced to enable some of that world and domain, and some of the connected technologies, whether it's around connected cars or the technology we may have in our homes. So we're looking at all of that space and domain and looking to understand how that world will need to operate effectively, engaged within the payment space. Next area I'll talk about is probably more of an even more future thinking area, which is about how we engage with data in the future. And we've called this theme Me to Be, which is about how we can empower individuals around the data that companies currently collect on us to give us power back around information we may be willing to share or trade for some type of incentives. We know today that some of the big global organisations, for us to be able to use their services, we essentially have to whiz through hundreds of terms and conditions and choose the term I agree before we can use that service. And in doing that, we're almost giving away huge amounts of our personal information, whether it's locational, whether it's our preferences, or any other elements. And what we're looking at is through expected changes in legislation and empowerment of individuals, how that can be turned around so that we can control our data, potentially through personal data stores or elements of that nature, and to be able to selectively choose when we want to give that information back. Further area is around what we're calling inclusion, and this is all about recognising that the current financial world provides support and service for certain communities of people today, but there are whole communities who are underserved or underbanked in today's environment. And as we've been exploring this theme or area further, we realise it's a very rich scene where there's a lot of innovation going on and a lot of areas where we can provide support or service in that space or domain. And the final theme I'm going to talk about briefly is around emerging retail journeys or emerging retail experiences. And this is all about how we're anticipating that in the future, us as consumers, but also the businesses who we engage in, are going to want to see payments made easier, or certainly the whole transaction element having less friction in the environment today, whether it's experiences where we go into retail stores or whether we're shopping through e-commerce channels. And we're looking at some of the new technologies around augmented reality and virtual reality, which could enrich and enable some of those experiences. And as we think about those 6 key theme areas, we're also very interested in where there may be opportunities to sponsor or support projects which will help test and prove multiple things across each of those different themes or areas of interest. So I'll close tonight just by, again, a call out to everybody here to say that we would love to talk with you this evening, or if not tonight, in the future. If you want to engage or hear what we're thinking about, look on our website, read our blogs, and communicate and share your feedback with us as well. And with that, I'll close, and hopefully you found this interesting and useful. Thank you very much.